to another amazing session, The Dialogues. And I'm Captain Preetham Madhukar, your host. And I'm a former sea captain and now a will strength coach, elite performance mentor. And I have a very interesting guest today, and this is Nirja Ganesh, who has been like a serial TEDx speaker and multiple platforms, and she's also a mentor herself. And today's topic is about the power of mentoring and how it can help you really elevate your success. And we're hoping to have an amazing discussion, a lot of inputs. She's got a lot of ideas, a lot of uh, tactics and strategies and the mindfulness that she's going to be bringing to us today. And I would also like to request the audience to really, you know, ask your questions, find out anything that you would like to know. And I really like to thank you for taking time out today and to be here. So let's begin. Nija, thank you so much for being here and taking time out to share all the insights that you have gathered in life. And I'm looking forward to this conversation.
Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity. And this itself is like mentoring for the rest of the audience, right? We are going to
Yes, in
discuss
a way,
something
in
and
a
they're
way.
going to take some takeaways. So I never say no to such opportunities. Thank you.
Super, super. And we're both in a way mentors, to people, and we are in the same space of helping people get better. And I think nothing better than two of us ideating and sharing our experiences.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So, like to begin with, what got you into mentoring? Like, what was the journey like?
Sure. So, I've had 25 years of a corporate career, after which I started doing many other things, right?
Hmm.
Now, throughout that career, I saw that through my interactions with my peers and my juniors, while we would
Mm,
not have called it mentoring, but you would
mm,
just sit down
mm,
and chat about some
yeah.
issues, problems, challenges,
Mm,
advice that they would seek out.
mm,
I could see that just a small interaction was able to bring about changes to their thought process,
okay.
their line of action.
Mm,
And then they could see the benefits when they
mm,
actually started implementing those changes.
okay.
And I thought it was transformational. All we
Mm,
did was spend a few minutes
mm,
to talk and
mm,
look at what it could do to them in their life, in their
mm,
careers. So
mm,
I made it a practice to do it
okay.
on an ongoing basis within the organization, some structured, some unstructured, just over a coffee when someone just came and asked me for advice or wanted me
Mm,
to intervene in something. And then I felt that my circle of influence was very limited, right? I could
mm,
only find people, or people within my organization could find me and have such conversations.
mm,
So I happened to come across a platform for women on a career break. That was in 2016, and my corporate career ended in 2017. So just before that. And in this platform, there was a mentoring vertical. There were mentoring services being offered to women on a career break because definitely, I know that all of us need mentoring, but women who have taken a career break, for them to restart, they find it a little challenging.
mm,
Uh, their own self confidence is, quite low. So I said, okay, here is where I can offer myself beyond my organization and do more structured mentoring. And it's just kind of kept me going from there. On my LinkedIn headline, if you see, I say, I I'm passionate about bringing about a positive mindset shift with every interaction that I have with women and students.
mm,
Doesn't mean that I do not and will not have an interaction with men, but it's something very close to my heart to share my
mm,
experiences, which is what we eventually do with mentoring and
mm,
fast track someone's career journey or, say, a
mm.
personal transformational journey. So I've seen that the impact is huge and hence the motivation to do more of it.
Nice, nice. I mean, it's amazing to hear this. It reminds me of how, I mean, I had not thought of it until now, how you're so passionate for the women in some ways and you can connect so much better. Unknowingly, for me in my life, there have been more men, at least out at sea back then. Now, of course, women are entering that space. And in a way, our mentoring journey also was, without calling it like that, mentoring, without labeling it as such, but a lot of hand me down processes, a lot of guidance on not just the technical stuff, but how to be an officer, how to carry oneself, how to talk, how to become, become into the role of something,
Absolutely.
thinking, how to take those decisions. I think that's the power of mentoring in some ways. And
Right.
that I have found, or rather, we were taught that you get to learn by being in the presence of a mentor.
Correct.
Hmm?
Correct.
And of course, you can say, what about books? Yes, books gives you insights, but being in the presence of mentor can, and just being there and listening to them can keep giving you those guidance. And especially now that we are doing professionally, where we are now becoming more mindful, we are trying to deliver in certain time. It can be a really powerful tool.
Yeah, I think it's
And
like a safe space,
yeah,
and so you can kind of really, have any kind of a conversation, and it's almost like testing out what I can do and what it will yield me from
mm,
the other person's perspective before you actually go and do it and
yeah,
see the
yeah,
results.
absolutely. And I would like to share at this point Nirja's YouTube video, TEDx talk link. Sorry, TEDx talk link, and she's really speaks amazingly there. And to be yourself, and please do take a look at that. The link I've shared in the chat, wherever you're watching, in whichever platform, YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, and wherever. So do follow us. I'll be sharing the link soon. And this video is an amazing video, and she works amazingly with women and empowers them. And I'm so glad she's here sharing these things.
Thank
And is there any significant challenge that a mentor was able to help you through, in life, career, business, anything like that? Is there something?
Okay. So I'll be honest and say that I may not have had a designated mentor for a large part of my life. As I said, in
Mm,
those days, maybe the concept didn't exist, or
mm,
it was not really called out, so extensively. So uh, I didn't have a mentor per se. But if I
mm,
reflect now on some of the conversations that I had with people,
mm,
I can call it mentoring, and I'll give you one example of that. Right.
mm,
So
mm,
in my very early career, I was at
mm,
ANZ in the bank, and I was.
mm,
Uh, I joined as a programmer, and it was
mm,
a three-member team, and
mm,
we built a product which then
mm,
was implemented globally. And
mm,
after that, the other two people left the team, and I was the only one who was left behind. And I continued because there would be maintenance requests, there would be bug fixes, and all of that would come through. And I was one person doing everything, taking support calls, making changes, and it was a global platform. So I was
mm,
thrilled that I was as a one person doing everything from top to bottom.
mm.
And then I had a change of manager. So when this
Okay.
new person came in, I very proudly told him my story, and I thought he's really going to praise me because I was single-handedly handling so much. And he said, Nirja, I sense that you made yourselves indispensable here.
Mm,
I don't think you're ever going to grow. And I thought, what is this? I thought
mm,
he will pat me on the back, say a few good
mm,
words, and he's saying, you're never
mm,
going to grow. And then
mm,
he made me realize that if I'm going to continue like this,
mm,
then there is no way out because there is no
mm,
backup, there is no second person. I am
mm,
not training, bringing in anybody else. I'm not
mm,
even looking for something beyond this team to grow myself. So he said, I'm only going to give you one task. You will hire two people,
mm,
train them, and get out of this team.
mm,
And while I hated it, I thought, oh God, all of, and it's like a baby, right? You kind of
mm,
built it and brought it up, and you have to give it to somebody else, and you'll never think somebody else can look after your baby as well as
mm.
you can.
Yeah.
So it was a tough task for me to bring in those two people, train them, and then give it and move out. But now I realize such a fantastic mentorship he did in that way to me. Sometimes mentors will be very harsh with you
Mm,
because you are not able to see through something and they are
mm,
seeing it from their experience and they're telling you to take this path, otherwise it's going to be very bad.
mm,
And it's called tough love. In parenting we also say that you
yeah.
have to do that to your children sometimes. um, and then my growth, it was only after that I grew. Otherwise I would have remained a programmer, I think, for my lifetime. And
Mm,
it's only after that I stepped into leadership positions and I grew. So
mm,
that way I've had many interactions with people,
mm,
and amazing with just one line, with one conversation, how
mm,
things can change. So if you do have a more extended period of engagement with a much bigger goal that you are
mm,
trying to reach out
Mm,
towards, I
mm.
think it's going to be transformational for everyone.
Okay, superb. I mean, it also reminds me of how for us it was somewhere structured without the label of mentoring, somewhere structured that you shadow somebody, you learn from them,
Right.
and see those things. And there have been numerous mentors in my life, I would say, and numerous people who have helped me grow from one rank to another, where I thought, I was not growing, and they would give me those right guidances at that time. And mentors, if you find the right mentors, I would say grab them, keep them with you for some time, don't let them go even if they want to go, and that's how you grow fast.
Right.
Yeah. And at this point, I would also like to share a free ebook with the audiences. Thank you so much for being here, whoever is listening in. Please ask your questions on whichever platform you're watching this, and we would try to address them if we can. This whole talk is about the power of mentoring and how, by going into mentoring, you can really boost your career, overcome certain life challenges. And probably we will share some things along the way on how you could do some specific things. And for now, I've given this free ebook. Please do grab it. It's the link is there. uh, you can grab this ebook, Pursuit of One Thing, how to pursue one thing and achieve this. So any stories from your mentoring, anything that's from your client, I mean, without telling the clients and all that, like how the mentoring has helped them grow.
Sure. Um, one of the services that I provide to organizations is to curate mentorship program for them, right? Some
Mm,
of them would like to do a 6 month mentorship program, and largely, again, it's in the space of women, and they
mm,
want to kind of bring in mentors and some women mentees, and they say,
mm,
okay, how do we kind of design this?
mm,
So
mm,
I've helped them, first of all, bring them on the same page. What is mentoring and what is
mm,
the mentor supposed to do, right? It's not, while we have said conversations so far in a very unstructured
mm,
manner,
mm,
but when you actually take up formal mentoring engagements, I think there is a particular process to follow. And it starts with the mentee actually setting the goals for himself or herself.
mm,
Um, I always give the example of intentional careers, or,
mm,
very intentionally going on a car trip. You set
mm,
off from your house, you say, okay, let me just see where, I can
mm,
go today and come back. I've got no real purpose. If there is a traffic jam, because you don't have a purpose, you say, okay, how long will I stay here? I will come back. And you
mm,
don't really achieve anything. But if it was very intentional, you wanted to go to XYZ, even if the traffic jam is there, you will try to find, some other ways and, reach there. So goals are very important if you're really getting into a mentoring engagement. And the mentee's goals, I mean, more than, the mentor saying, I think this is what you need to do, even if the mentor feels this person has to kind of work in this space, I think it's more the mentee that needs to drive this conversation. And so I always emphasize on the mentee actually driving the engagement, the relationship, and the
mm,
conversations, and of course the actions. Eventually, it is the mentee who is to take the actions. So I'll give the example here of this very senior women leader who reached out to me. Again, no formal mentoring engagement. She reached out to me from US over LinkedIn, and she said, "Can I have a chat with you? Because I've heard so many of your talks."
mm,
And she said her challenge at that point in time was that in the industry that she was in, she was doing the role of a program manager. And it was probably a new role in that industry. And she had then had a new manager assigned, I mean, she got assigned to a new manager, and the manager didn't appreciate that role. So he kept saying, is it really needed? I mean, almost like saying, are you needed in the team? Because I don't think there is any value in your role. But of course, she could see, what she was bringing to the table. So one, she was getting a little worried, unsure, insecure. And she said, I don't know how to deal with the manager. Right? Now, that is how she brought out the problem, that I don't know how
mm,
to deal with the manager, as if the manager was the problem.
mm,
But as a mentor, I was able to explore through this question that I asked her. I said, how do you bring about the visibility of your work to your manager? Do you do weekly meetings with him? Do you put out some status reports in which you highlight, okay, this is what we achieved, these were the issues, and I resolved them even before it could kind of get escalated. I, brought all these people together and resolved it. Do you build that visibility for your manager? And she said, no. I mean, there has never been a weekly meeting, there's never been a status report.
Mm.
So the problem was not the manager, right? He really didn't understand the role because he
Mm.
was not getting that insight about what she was doing. And hence, the mentor in me was able to tell her that you will be able to resolve this issue if you just up your visibility. And a very simple way of doing it is, doing those weekly meetings and building a nice status report which gives every aspect of the work that you've done. So I think that's why it is very important for that conversation, the mentee to, of course, talk about their goals, and for the mentor to go a little bit drill down to say, okay, I think the issue is not here, but here, and let's fix it in this manner. So one example and one story that I could, narrate
Nice.
from a recent
Super.
past.
I mean, we have some questions coming up. We'll just address them soon.
Sure.
Thank you, Kumud and Preeti, for your questions. Just we will get to that very soon. And it reminds me of a client of mine who runs a very popular garment company, and she had taken up the mentoring program with me, and she's been doing this for more than 20-25 years, but still I found some of the processes were not very organized and stressing her out. Her primary reason for seeking mentoring was stress, and then to go to the root was a business process,
Right.
and she said, I've been struggling with this for so long, doing it somehow, they know how to, but struggling with it. And then there were simple hacks that what I could bring out to her in some ways, where to go and visit the factory floor more often. She said, yes, my team has been telling, somehow I think I needed somebody else to tell me this,
Yeah.
you know and then because not able to fire, otherwise she's in a firefighting mode all the time.
Right.
So how sometimes a mentor is just to hold the flashlight, I say, you
Yeah.
know at the right direction. Otherwise you're looking at all the wrong places to see and wasting precious time, stressing yourself out, losing money perhaps, and health also in some ways. And what before we start getting into the question, I would also like to share Nirja's LinkedIn profile, and where she's very active and she keeps giving constant help and support, a lot of insights. Please do follow that handle. I've shared it in the chat. And uh, how about taking one of the questions from let me say, Kumud is asking, how do you handle your worst days at work?
Right. Okay, so I have a mantra, okay, which says, what is the worst that can happen? And that's my mantra for decision making,
Hmm.
for, anything in life, always. So when you ask yourselves, what's the worst that can happen? It will tell you your worst day could be, you've had such a fight with your manager, you've had a fight in the family, you kind of, it looks as if everybody is unhappy with you and you are unhappy with every outcome that is happening on that day. So what is the worst on that day? And you could respond to it to say that, okay, today I probably am going to bed without having any nice conversation with my family, and my manager tomorrow morning is going to come with a sulky mood and is going to pinpoint on everything that I do because today itself I've kind of ticked him off or whatever has happened.
Hmm.
So what?
Hmm.
I think the answer to that, so what, should kind of tell you,
Hmm.
in my case, the answer to that, what is the worst that can happen,
Hmm.
if that answer is that I will lose my life as an example because of
Hmm.
something,
Hmm.
then I will get stressed about it.
Hmm.
Right? If it is that, okay, I probably will have to sit down a little more patiently. I probably will have to just bite my ego tomorrow and listen to a bit more from my husband or, of somebody else in the team. You can tide over it,
Hmm.
right? The day will go by. The person's mood will, kind of come down and, he'll mellow down because you're not reacting. You're kind of trying to respond in a way. And on the third day, probably
Hmm.
both of
Hmm.
you are in a better mood to have that conversation. So for me, the question, what is the worst that can happen in the situation that you are in? And the answer to that, if you're able to deal with it, each of us has a different threshold. I'm not saying that, my threshold is the threshold for everyone. And there could be really, really, bad days. If you're, maybe example, you want to have a conversation with your manager and you risk, and I don't know, there was something that was said, you risk losing your job, maybe. That's the situation if you're really going to open up and voice, and maybe you're not in a position today to lose your job, right? So then you kind of think about an alternative. uh, it also comes down to the priorities that you have in your life, to say, okay, fine, today my priority is to keep this job. So that will tell you that, okay, I will have to then just kind of keep afloat for the next few days, till I'm able to either go to another job or able to have another conversation. And in buying that time, you will be able to think of better approaches to solving this problem which is on hand. So I've always kind of asked this question for everything in my life, and it has worked for me.
Superb. I mean, I used to have these things, questions on board ship. I would have my officers who would sometimes come and tell me that, this is like probably the worst nightmare. The ship is terrible. The storms are coming. A lot of challenges are there. Can it get even worse? What is the there's like worst? What are we doing even here? Risking our life and everything. And I would say it would pass, like this old sayings, it will pass. And they would again come back after a few days. This is proper. This is the best time. We can party. We can play something. We can do something. The weather is so good. It's been beautiful. And I would tell, don't worry, it will pass.
Right.
I think what we need to know, just like when COVID happened, everything will pass in the end. You know, uh, and if it's your worst day, then be happy. Then it's only uphill from there.
Correct. That's
You
right.
know? And so you're going to keep getting better. Of course, I'm not saying all the time, but that's one of the things you can try. There are many such strategies. Another strategy is coming up with some basic plan to get you out of your worst day. That also helps.
Right.
Okay.
So I always talk about prioritization very, very, I tell people you need to have your priorities, because that also helps you kind of think about the worst situation that you are in.
Yeah.
And I will tell you a story in terms of the priorities, right? In the organization that I was in,
Mm,
there was an org structure change. And usually, when there is org structure changes, you will be put from one team to another, one role to another. You may or may not like the manager, you may not like the team, but that's kind of the worst, right? In this place, when the org structure change happened, they did what was called as a spill and fill, which means
mm,
we were probably six of us in the earlier team. They spilled us all out of those roles. So now we had no role.
mm,
Okay. And then in the new structure, there were five roles. We were six people, there were five
mm,
roles.
mm,
We all had to apply,
mm,
say two, one, or more of those roles. So we knew only five was going to get, right? Only
mm,
five of us will get,
mm,
max.
mm,
The sixth person, as per the organization policy, had to leave.
mm,
Okay. And the time duration was very limited.
mm,
3 days to make the to apply. They
mm,
would take 3 days to finalize. In
mm.
6 days, you would know whether you made it or not.
Mm.
And if you've not made it, you have to exit. If you
Okay.
made it and you're not happy and you don't accept, you have to exit.
Mm.
Okay. So far so good, right? Now the
Mm.
twist was that
Mm.
all those five roles were
Mm.
at a grade which was lower than what I was at.
Okay.
So I wouldn't even want to apply to all those, right? It was at a grade lower than mine. So it was that. But anyway, everyone told me buy time, even if it means 3 days, 6 days, because I don't have any job waiting for me outside.
Mm.
So I did apply. I did get a role which was at a grade lower, and I had to accept it because I didn't have a job outside
Mm.
at a grade lower. So that was the biggest, I think, one of the worst things that will happen. So when I went to the MD, the managing director of that company. I didn't know him, but I set up a meeting with him and I said, for the 12 plus years that I have been in this organization, what has happened to me is really, really disturbing. And I don't even feel like being in this company now. So he said, what kept you going for 12 years? Has it always been great? Have there never been low points? Why did you not think of quitting from this company in those, low points? So I said, yeah, I mean, overall, this organization is good. I mean, I was there because there was great work-life balance. I was, growing and my daughter was growing. So I needed that work-life balance. So even during the bad times, I said, okay, my priority of managing a good work life was kind of taken care of. So he said, can you rethink about your decision wanting to leave from this job because you've gotten a grade lower based on that priority? Because there is
Mm,
no guarantee that where you go, even if you manage to get a job, you will get that work life balance. And then,
mm,
you will have a horrid life after that.
yeah.
You will get your grade, you may get your salary. So he just
Mm,
made me reflect on that. And he said, you come back. If you still want to leave, I will get you a job outside.
mm,
But if you decide that no, this organization great otherwise, it's just this process was a bit flawed, didn't do you justice, then we'll work through finding, the next role for you. So I went back after the reflection and said, I'll stay on. And really, in the next few weeks, I was on to another role which was at the same grade that I was at. So I think prioritization is so very important.
mm.
One of the tips that I would like to give from this
Yeah,
conversation.
absolutely. I couldn't agree more. And superb. I mean, I have another question, which is I'm a Parkinson's patient with movement disorder, and myself was mentoring to many, but now struggling a lot trying to work on one idea, which is my dream project. And I need some guidance from you. I'm comfortable in written communication. Okay. I've shared this mentoring form, and please kindly fill up that form in case you're interested for a complimentary session. I've also put Nirja's name if you want Nirja to talk to, you want my name, or you want to talk to us both, then just tick the form and we will reach out to you. Okay, reach out. This form is available, it is posted on the chat wherever you're watching this. Click this, fill up the form, and then somebody, one of us or our teammates, will reach out to you. Okay, so if you want, I can repost, I will repost this again just for people, because the reason I'm sharing this mentoring form is because it may not be able to address such an situation just on the platform like this. Okay, and but definitely I have been working, I'm sure Nija's done work on this. Will strength is my core work area to build that personal discipline, and my quote is, become a creator of your destiny by becoming a master of your will. And I'm this is something that I advocate everywhere. So if this is something that connects with you and you feel that you need to build your will, which is in a way holding you back, building your courage, building clarity, then please connect with me and Nirja on the phone. So do you want to tell anything, Nirja, on this?
No,
Anything
I
you
think that this was a good approach because
okay.
it's a very specific ask, and I
Yeah,
think we'll need a bit more of
bit more
understanding, and
understanding.
then
Yeah.
we can take it from
Okay, super. Okay. And I have a question here. I'm laid off because I took a stand for what I believe.
there. Okay. Yeah, something that we were discussing, right? What's the worst that can happen? And if the worst is because you opened up your mouth and
Yeah.
they decided to kind of let you go. So I think go back to your priorities.
Mm,
Laying off means yes, you are out of an organization, and hence the first thing is it hits your financials, right?
mm,
Beyond everything
mm,
else, it does hurt you and all of that, but the
mm,
financials is the
mm,
first thing. So can
mm,
you look at your financials to see is that sound enough? Can
mm,
it take you on for a few weeks, months, whatever it is? If that is the case, then you are in a safe space for at
mm,
least the next few. And hence you can think a little more calmly, and your
mm,
approach can be a little different to say,
mm,
okay, where do I want to work? What kind of organization? What kinds of people do I need to meet? Of course, I will be on certain portals. I will apply through that, but there is networks that I can reach out to. Plenty of networks exist. Are you part of networks? Do you have a large network? What kinds of conversations you need to start doing with people you know and you don't know, etc. Now if the financials are not sound, I know that you need to get onto something very very quickly. Then my advice would be that look for something immediate, even if it means that picking up something which is at a lower grade, lower salary. but at least you have something to keep you going, right? And in that, um, you obviously need to kind of over the weekend or something do your thought thinking to say how do I get over this, beyond this, etc. So I think those priorities will tell you what your next approach should be. But if your question is that I spoke my mind and I got
mm,
laid off, which
mm,
means should I never do it? No,
mm,
I wouldn't say never do it,
mm,
because it is important for you to speak your mind. I always talk about speaking up.
mm,
But you may have to evaluate, uh, did you actually assess the risk even before you speak
mm,
up, right?
mm,
And sometimes you have to really role play that conversation with some
mm,
people before you actually have it, so that you will get all others perspectives and prepare with data ammunition to have that conversation, to be able to convince the other person that your viewpoint is valid. Sometimes you'll have to take allies with you in that conversation, so that it's not only your voice but a few other voices that are being heard, and hence,
mm,
people can't just say shut up or throw you out. So there are two parts. One is how do you kind of get another job. Second is how do you ensure that you're not in a situation like this again.
mm, mm. Yeah, absolutely. And just to add to that, and I think you covered most of it in a way, is like it's good to stand for your belief. There have been many such points, turning points in my life where I there was this momentary reflection and things when I took a stand for certain things, and I knew it was going to be the end of the road if I do, but because that was the right thing to do, right? And at the same time it came back with a lot of respect, a lot of from the fraternity, from peers, from everybody else, and more than anybody, from my own self to me. Okay, so it is good, and if it's something, but I would also say at sometimes to reflect, was it truly a belief or was it something of coming from somewhere else? That's where I would say in such places is where you need to find a mentor, maybe from your current workplace, or somebody from your known circle. Find somebody, ask them, hey, I've been laid off, because we can't cover obviously everything here. I've been laid off, and how can I get back into the game? Like Neerja said, don't stay out of the game, because procrastination will set in, our fear and self-confidence, low self-confidence will come in and make it more difficult to get back. Okay, so I hope it helps. And we got more questions. I think we have more questions, and I don't know, we have very little time. And so, how do we mentor people with attitude issues patiently more than technical incompetency? And it is attitude that I feel a major chance. Absolutely spot on, Sindhu. And I couldn't agree more. I'm sure Nirja will have. This has been the biggest challenge. The uh, the not wanting to take the mentoring. In fact, I'd created a Twitter survey a little while back. I've shared the Twitter handle post. Please do follow that. I keep engaging a lot on Twitter as well, and you can get. So, Nirja, how does this resistance or refusal to take mentoring in some ways? How to address this challenge? How
Right.
does how does one go about it?
Yeah. So if the person came to you on their own, right, and you kind of made the person reflect through your conversations that possibly it's the attitude and
Hmm.
nothing else, right? Everything else is fine. Possibly it's your attitude, and the person is still not willing to accept it. I would say that you need to kind of hang on. You need to have that patience,
Hmm.
right? Maybe the first time the person is not going to accept, but keep the conversation going. If you have decided they're going to meet every 2 weeks or every 3 weeks, tell the person to come back, in the next, meeting, and say, okay, what transpired, and ask the person to do a little bit of self reflection. Let the person the person is not going to accept that he or she was at fault, but you can kind of enable a little bit of self reflection through those 2 or 3 weeks before she comes back to you for the next conversation. Say, okay, document this. Sometimes we don't believe that we are fat because of what we are eating. We are eating perfectly, but the weight still is increasing. And that then you get the diet chart. Before that, the dietitian says, write down everything. Even the biscuit that you ate and the banana that you ate, and it's only then you realize that, oh, in a day I ate 8 biscuits without my realization, and that's contributing to the calories, right? So some tools of that kind, where the person is able to do a self reflection and note down, right, and comes back to you in the next conversation, and then say, okay, what do you think about this, because it will be glaring, certain things will be glaring, that there's a pattern, and the pattern seems to be there with everyone, not only one person. It may be at home, it may be with friends, it will be with managers, and it will be somewhere else. So there is a pattern, and maybe that will enlighten, right? So I definitely say that if you are invested, and if the person is willing to kind of be with you, and you don't kind of in the very first meeting say it's your problem, I think it's you. Nobody's going to accept that. So work with the person over the next 2 3 meetings, but enable through some tools, which could be simple Excel sheets, simple documenting stuff, and then the conversation is more enhanced because it's kind of shown to him or her with data that she only wrote or he only wrote. That would be one of the ways. But if it is an engagement which has been thrown by the organization, the organization thinks this person has an attitude issue, here is a mentor, I think it's more difficult because the person is not really wanting to bring about a change, right? Then you will try the same, but also have to bring in the organization and say that, uh, I think the organization also has to uh, bring in certain elements along with you, because I think unless the mentee is invested, it is very, very difficult to kind of make the change happen.
Nice. I mean, absolutely. It reminded me of a quote from our sea life. When the student is ready, the mentor appears, right? And sometimes there have been officers and cadets who are arrogant, who are got this thing that I already know everything. Then we say, do not waste time mentoring them. Okay.
Right.
The second thing I would say, okay, that apart, okay, if you find that totally like that, then there is no point wasting. Find somebody else who needs your help and help them. Okay, for a mentor, this is an advice to a mentor, not to a mentee here, right? And if you're looking at becoming a mentor, then this is something you have to embrace, that not everybody is ready, even though you know that your hand could have helped them or your advice could have helped them immensely. You have to make peace with that as a mentor also. And another thing to add is, um, the like how you mentioned, the excels and the word can help them become more reflective. Absolutely, that can be a game changer. Something to add is, the pain isn't clear to them many times. The consequences of their action isn't clear, of why, if they are not ready to receive the mentor, what can happen. There was one client of mine who had approached me for the mentoring, and he didn't want at the starting, then he came back, and after many months, I said, and who wanted to do a career change and who wanted to grow in their career, do a jump. I said, what has happened, what have you done in these last months? He said, nothing. And what is the financial hit? I said. He said, what financial hit? I said, how much have you lost by not getting the job earlier? Then he said, okay, this is running into few 10, 12 lakhs. I said, that is the hit that you've got, and you're now telling me that there is a financial challenge that you're going through. Wouldn't it be better that if you had taken the mentoring, you could have reached that goal faster? So sometimes making them aware can help them, or you can actually help them overcome their attitude issues, because now you're not getting angry, they're coming with an attitude. You're coming angry, telling them, you know what, you're not really seeing what will happen with this attitude too. Okay, how you can damage yourself. So I hope, Sindhu, that in a way helps some thoughts from Nirja's points and what I could share something about it. And please keep following the links. Nirja is an amazing TEDx speaker. She's like a serial TEDx speaker, and amazing talks. I've shared the link, I will share it again. And let me share that link again. Nirja's talks. And And thank you for everyone who's taken time out to be here, to listen in. It's amazing to have you all ask these questions. I have this whole questions that we had for this dialogues. It feels like I don't even know when I'm going to come to it, and it's good to have questions from the live audience, and that's what we want to do, right?
Absolutely.
Super. And so I've shared Nirja's TEDx talk, and please do watch that. I've also shared the complimentary session form. Okay, and I'm saying somebody's mentioned that they're not able to see. Let me reshare, because sometimes it's possible that you have joined in late and you could have missed that. Okay, so let me share. This is a complimentary session. Wherever you are, just click this form, just fill in the details, and or at least open this form in a new window so you don't lose it, and then complete it when you get time and post it, so we will connect with you after some time. So let me get back to the questions. Kumada says, thanks a lot, ma'am. Really appreciate your help and guidance. Thanks, Captain Preetham.
Thank
Thank you, Kumud. Nice that we could give you some guidance and help. So I have this same person, or I think another question. What are the key attributes of a good mentor?
you. Yeah. Very, very good question, I think, yes. So, I think, first of all, obviously, as I said, you need to be able to get the mentee to reflect. Many of us jump in. I think it's very difficult for us to hold back. Let's be honest. Because we
Yeah.
think we know better. We've seen this trajectory, right? And if you go on this path, this is what is going to happen. I'm telling you, change. Okay.
Mm,
But I don't think a mentor has to be that. You have to kind of get the mentee to open up, the mentee to kind of talk about her goals, his goals, and these challenges and these aspirations and all of that. So that is a very, very important trait, to be patient and to enable the person to come out with what they believe is the thing for them. Listening, active listening, it is very, very important.
mm,
While and there was a question, difference between coaching and mentoring, and we'll come to that. Coaching actually is a lot of listening, right? But mentoring, you do kind of give advice and you give tips and tricks, which may
mm,
not necessarily come through a coaching. Coaching
mm,
really means, you get the person to reflect, and the
mm,
action planning is also taken by the coaches themselves. There's not much that the
mm,
coach actually says, do this. A mentor will tell you, do this, possibly this will help you. The second important trait of a mentor is active listening. The third is, uh, you need to be able to give that time. While you have scheduled a conversation, you can say, okay, I'll do once a month or twice a month, and it's an hour, etc. Um, it's not a job. Mentoring can transform someone. And I've heard and read Indra Nooyi say this. Amongst the many, many things that she may have done to kind of reach where she reached,
mm,
she talks about mentorship, which has been a biggest enabler in her life to kind of grow to where she did. So that's the power of mentoring, to transform. And I'll give you an example here, right? When I started mentoring women on a career break, uh, there was this lady who had gotten a job after a career break. And after a week, she called me. And I was coming back from, I was at Capgemini. I was working at Capgemini then in Bangalore. For those of you from Bangalore, Bellandur and Alsur. Can you imagine? First of all, long day at 7:38 in the night. I'm sitting in the cab and waiting through the traffic coming back home. And this girl calls me, saying that I'm in a big mess. One
mm,
week only she's been to the work after restart. I said, so what happened? She said, see, my daughter. So what had happened was, she went for the interview on a Thursday, and they said Friday you join. And she had a 5-year-old daughter, and on Friday, she made her husband stay at home. This is pre COVID, I'm talking about, and look after the child. And over the weekend, she found a daycare so that the child can go to the daycare after school. So the following week, that was what happened. The child went to daycare. Now, the Monday after that week, the child refused to go to the daycare. She cried and cried and cried, saying, I'm not happy there, I'm not going. So this lady didn't know what to do, whether she should quit the job again, or send the child to the daycare or what. So she said, I don't know what to do. So I said, why don't you talk to your manager and tell her that because you had to join immediately, you didn't have the time to settle your child in the daycare. Okay. And I just request that for 1 week, you would want to go to the daycare to see what is happening because of which this child is unhappy. And
Mm.
those few hours you will not be working, but you will kind of do the work afterwards. So just, kind of request for that flexibility. She said, 1 week into the organization, how can I ask my manager for such things? I said, ask, what's the worst that can happen? Standard mantra. What's the worst that can happen? She may refuse it. She may say,
Mm.
no, you have to come to the office and work.
Yeah.
Or if she refuses, then you take the call whether I should quit the job or leave my child crying in the daycare. But at
Mm.
least have the chat.
Yeah.
I must have spoken like less than 5 minutes, right? She called her manager, and that's another thing. The mentee should be willing to implement some of the tips that the mentor is giving. And in the next 5 minutes, she was on a call back to me saying, "Thank you, Nirja. My manager said, bring the child to the office tomorrow.
Mm.
Don't have to send her to the daycare." And she said, "My God, I couldn't even think of this as an option. Thank you for." And what did I do? I just suggested call the manager and speak, right? She took the child to the office, and everyone in the office engaged the child, played, etc., while she was doing her work. And towards the evening, I think it was the rest of the team members who told the child the need for her mother to come to work, and hence she needed to be in the daycare. And the child the next day happily went to the daycare, right? So I'm saying that that evening at 7:30, I could have been frustrated, irritated, tired, but I took the call. We were not in any paid engagement or any mentoring engagement. I just happened to be a mentor on a platform, and people can reach out to me. But I think that is the commitment you need to have. If you
Mm.
have that commitment, I think you are good to be the mentor.
Mm. Absolutely. And especially if you're looking to be one, or you're thinking about, is just to add a couple of more points, is I think in a way, maybe phrasing it differently, I would say, more than adding points, is one is patience. I think you mentioned it through the listening, is in a way patience. The second quality, I would say, is humility of the mentor itself. And because that will make you open up more, or your clients to open up more, and to share things in confidence, which will then give you clues, and also give the mentee the clues on what they should do, right? And of course, and another very important quality is hope, a mentor who gives you hope. And because I'm not talking on the technical stuff you'll have to judge on based on different things. These are broad character
Right.
qualities of a mentor, I would say. And to different between a coach and a mentor, from what I have understood, or they're all very similar, coach, mentor, guide, and things like that. And in a way, coach would be somebody who gets you to a specific goal that you have, you know and mentor could be somebody who mentors you a little more rounded, because everything is affecting your life. Okay, coach would be, I need to run, I need to be the best cricketer, I need the best bowler, I need to be, okay, he's not really concerned what's happening at home, right? As long as you come to the field and practice is good enough, and you're doing your job. But mentor would be a little more, yeah, my family is not supportive, okay, what can you do about it, so that you can be a specific thing. It's a more long term association. So I hope these things help you, I mean, are giving you some sort of clarity. That was Sachin's question. Thank you, Sachin, for your question. Wonderful to hear that. And I have I've shared the form already. If you're not able to see it, just let me know. I will be sharing again at the end all the links and the form. I've shared Nirja's LinkedIn. She's very active there, and she shares an amazing insights there. Please do follow that. And I've shared my own LinkedIn. Do follow that as well, where I share some insights and dialogues like these. And I would also like, before we take on another question, I'd like to share that, my primary work is on building will strength, and I conduct webinars for that. We have a lot of boot camps to build people's will strength and help them uh, build great lifestyle, because without doing this fundamental work, we cannot achieve other bigger and greater things in life. You want to start a business, you want to become a better in your career, get those promotions, do some great stuff, author, you want to be an artist, a sports person, you need will strength. And that has been my mission for this last many years. And I do conduct this workshop, and I've shared this link. It's called the Grit Masterclass, and people are free to enroll in that and attend this webinar when So be part of this the network. I've shared the link on the WhatsApp WhatsApp group, and whenever we have a webinar, a live webinar, you can join and sign up for that. Okay, and before we proceed with another question, how should I send you my background? Can I get an email of both since I have speech issues? Okay, Preeti, I've already shared the link. I hope you have received it. The the form, the complimentary session form, and please fill up that, Preeti, so that you can address any long. We can't address everything here. Few simple ones, maybe some insights we can give you here. Sumalata says, completely agree with you, ma'am. Mentoring and transform many. Superb. Thank you, Sumalata, for your feedback and compliments. Smriti tells how to choose a mentor.
Good question. I think Smriti and I have interacted earlier, if I recollect. So, see, in an organization, if you're working in an organization, you can seek out mentors from within the organization also. The only thing I would say is try to bring in someone who will have a very different and diverse perspective. So maybe look for someone outside of your team, outside of your business unit, try to reach out to them and, kind of say, I have XYZ as, my goals. And this is the reason why I think you can support me in this journey. And hence I'm reaching out. Please let me know if you would be able to kind of, give me some time. You can also find mentors from outside your organization, and sometimes I recommend that you have two at a time, right? You can have some from within because they'll bring a perspective of the organization if you have the challenge of growth within the organization, and the one from outside will give you a different kind of a holistic perspective. From outside of the organization, there are plenty of mentorship platforms. Example, Aspire for Her, where I mentor, and it is also a platform for women, uh, starting from girls in schools up to women leaders, women in boards, women entrepreneurs, women on a career break, and so on. And we are about 150 odd women mentors, who've kind of seen it all at different from different industries and walks of life. You can seek out through that platform, and like this, many platforms exist, and you can seek out mentors. You can actually also go on to LinkedIn and connect with someone. My only thing is, when you do all of these connects, you need to kind of put out, what is it, why is it that you are looking for something, right? You should have done that reflection for yourselves. You should have something concrete to say, 1 2 3, this is why I want guidance, this is why I want mentorship, and some homework about the person that you're reaching out to. Say that, I saw that you've had similar journeys, I saw that this is how you can impact me. I would like to kind of seek out from and learn from your experience, something of that sort, and then kind of request. So you can definitely, there are enough and more avenues today to seek out mentors. The only thing that I would say is that commit yourselves, because many of these people might do it pro bono because we all want to help. We've kind of seen what has happened to us in our lives, and we want to give back. We want to kind of fast track things for other people. So many of us may kind of just give our time, and I have seen mentees don't value that.
Mm.
Correct. So that's something that I would definitely tell everyone. Imagine that if you were going to be asked to pay by the minute and by the hour, right? Would you have, what kind of commitment would you have given? Because it is important for you to make that commitment, otherwise nothing is going to change for you. Just like we sometimes join the gym because we paid the membership fee, we show up so that some change happens in your
Yeah.
body and physique and all of that. So that commitment is very important.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. And just to add a couple of things is, like, have a conversation with the person who you're looking out. Obviously something would have stirred, you saw their profile, you spoke to them, or somebody told you about something and you're still not sure. Then have a conversation, and maybe try to understand that this is the issue. Is this something that you can help me? And see how much of insights of yourself the mentor is able to draw out in these sessions, if they are able to help you. And then if there is a certain connection you are feeling, there is a certain vibe, because not necessary that they may be an expert in something, but you are just not connecting as a person, then you don't go ahead with it. And sometimes it could be just a matter of one or two sessions. You got immense value, and then you dive in, like you just dive in wholeheartedly, fully commit yourself, and allow yourself to be led in some ways. We used to have a saying back at sea: learn to follow, and then you will learn to lead.
Right.
Yeah, learn to follow, and then you will learn to lead. And it took me some time. My ego was coming in my way. I was like, what do you mean? Like, I don't want to follow, I want to lead. But then I realized, once you learn to follow and once you learn to submit, then you realize that power of mentoring. You yourself become the mentor. you know
One more add-on is, and I don't, we are going really reaching the time, I think, but this is very important. See, mentors also kind of become part of your larger network, right? While they are giving you those tips and tricks and advices, but the added element of, that mentor is now suddenly Nirja's network is your network, because now you're connected to me and I can in some ways open up that network, or through me you can kind of, dip into my network. So sometimes it is also useful to look at what is the kind of network that this person has. And I remember doing this exercise for my daughter when Aspire was started in 2020 for girls in the age group of 20 to 25. And the very first month, they announced an ambassador program, which was for girls in this age group. And they were given some small tasks for that 1 month, basically to spread the word around. And we were about 50 mentors on that platform. And each of the girls was told, you can choose a mentor. Okay, now these 18, 20-year olds, and all of us, 50 plus year olds, so we've got enough and more experience in life. And these girls want everyone, wow. So who do I choose? How do I choose? So I told my daughter that maybe there are two or three things you can look at. One is your line of study, career aspiration, and see who may be, kind of suited towards that. The second could be the diverse work experience, which could come from multiple companies that she's worked in or he's worked in, different domains that the person has worked in, because that really brings a different twist than just being in one organization or, the same domain. And the third is the mentor's connections on LinkedIn. I actually told her that, look at that. What is the expand? Now, LinkedIn is not the universe, but that's one way of looking at, how broad the network of this person is, because then you are one among that network, and plenty of possibilities open up. So that's another way of trying to choose a mentor.
yeah, yeah, different ways. I would advise you to, depending on the kind of difficulty or work, the kind of challenge that you're looking to address. Is it something like you're just addressing like a group, you need some guidances? Is it more deeper issues that you're trying to change? Is it personal, professional? All those factors can come in and play a guiding thing. But take your time, take your time, take your time to choose. But once chosen, dive in. And means engage with them. One, maybe even ask them, can I talk to you once more before I make a decision? Go for it if you're in doubt, and then you decide. Because, like I'm offering services like this professionally for last couple of years now, and we have we taken paid clients as well, and both from industry leaders, CEOs, to individuals. I have like people who want to get into violinists, who want to become sports persons, elite persons. And mentoring can boost your success massively, and many excess. So whoever you're comfortable with, whoever you find is the right persons, do it. And there's some very interesting question, I thought I must take that a
Sure.
little bit, which was, I think it lost it somewhere. What if someone whom you want to be a mentor is not interested to be a mentor?
Yeah,
And
I can
I
see
have
that.
some interesting stories for that. And I don't know how much I will cover. One was a colleague of mine, who, not a colleague, I would say a friend of mine, who wanted to work with this number one organic farmer in the country. Okay, Dr. Sarvadaman Patel, I'm using his name, and I've had the privilege of being mentored by him as well. And this person was the first one to get mentored, and amazing individual, Dr. Patel, and he refused mentoring for him, refused. And he was, he said, I don't have time. I have my work, and I really don't have time for you. He just bugged him and bugged him, bugged him and bugged him, till he gave in. And that was when all the others could come in as well and get his guidance. So, if you really want and if you really think they have to help, you have to go doggedly against after them. Okay. If a water can melt a stone, you can definitely melt the mentor. Okay. And there was another individual. I heard this story of uh, one of the very renowned Ayurvedic doctors who went to Nepal to learn some things from this monk, very old monk who refused. He said, I will not teach you. He didn't go. He kept brooming. He's a doctor, very renowned doctor. He said, I'm not going to leave this place without learning. Okay. He would give him, then I don't want to teach you. You go and broom this monastery, do this mopping, clean the dishes. For 1 year, he kept thinking that he will run away eventually. But he said, I'm not going anywhere. 18 months later, nearly 2 years later, then the mentoring started. Okay. So it is your own thing. Same thing on the ships. No mentoring will happen before they see that you pass the rite of passage. You're worthy of even being mentored. Okay. So that is the mentor's test to the mentee. Similarly, you can put your test to the mentor, but once the match has happened, then you follow the mentor's hand. So I hope something you want to add to this, Nirja.
No, I think it was perfect. I think you need to keep at it. There is no way out. You have to show that the fire is in the belly, and you
Yeah,
are going to be, behind this person, and maybe, start showcasing, become visible to the person in terms of what else are you doing, so that it appears that you're really committed.
yeah,
You already told, this is the reason I want to. This is my goal, and how you're approaching that without the mentor's help. Try to, build that visibility. At some point in time, I think the mentor will say, okay, I think this place needs my intervention. She could have done it so very differently. Let me just have a conversation. So
yeah.
yeah, yes.
Superb. So I'm going to share some of the links before our closing thoughts here. Okay, this is the link for a complimentary session if you want to ask. Obviously, we are short on time, and some of the questions you all have asked are is going to take some time. But most of all, I'm really happy and really grateful that you have attended, taking time out to be in the session, for all your wonderful questions, which really keeps us energized as mentors to help you and give you insights. And hope you had an amazing value to take away. And Anija, any closing thoughts on mentoring before we wind up?
Yeah, so I think enough has been said about mentors. They are available. I think the mentee, because it is the mentee who kind of has to drive, because if you want the transformation for yourselves. And I have to say, the mentors learn a lot from the mentees. No denying there. It's not that it's only the mentee who learns. There is so much of reverse mentoring that happens even without, the mentee's knowledge. So the mentor definitely, learns a lot from that. But it's for the mentee. Uh, Please be committed, because the lessons that you will get from the mentor are life lessons. Even if you go take an MBA class or whatever else class, it will not be there in those books.
Yeah,
So it's something that is really going to transform you. So make that commitment, even if it sounds harsh, even if it sounds, oh my God, it's really going to, change my routine and my ritual and, my belief system. I think, you need to give it a try and be there. In the ending, I will only give this story, because I said I didn't have any long-term mentoring engagements, but, nuggets of wisdom which just come, in the passing. So when I joined from ANZ, I joined Capgemini, and I'm talking Bangalore for those of you who understand. ANZ was 5 kilometers away from home. It was an Australia, facing organization. So by 5, we would wind up and come home, and then at home we could do, our work later in the evening if there was something pending, because there's no one in the office in Australia, so no late hours, etc. Really good work-life balance. When I joined Capgemini, everyone told me this is in Whitefield, 15 kilometers from home, traffic jams, and it's a services company. It's a very different kind of a beast.
Yeah.
So I thought, no, I don't want to join this organization. So I actually called one of my previous bosses and I said, I'm looking out for a job. He said, you have an offer in hand, right? In a really good organization. What happened? I said, no, they said traffic. They said this. So he said, Nirja, I will tell you, give it 6 months. You've only heard people say you have to give it 6 months. You will go, you will work there, you will wait through the traffic, you will find different routes, but not 1 month, 2 months. You have to give it 6 months because it takes that much of time for you to fit into the organization, understand the culture, find out the different routes, the different timings when the traffic is bad. And after 6 months, if you still have a problem, we will find another job. I stayed there for 5 years. Okay.
Mm,
So it was very bad advice. I would say, oh, he's not giving me a job. He's telling me stay there. But it really worked out. So yeah,
yeah.
that's the mentor's life experience.
Super, super. Thank you so much. And as a closing thought, if a mentor who I look up to 3 years back didn't say, you know what, just stick to it, do what you're doing, I probably may have been doing something else now. Maybe we won't be having this session. And like I say, always find the mentor whoever you're comfortable with. And if you think that they can help you grab, you will grow faster, you will grow better, more. Life will be easier for you than just doing it on your own. Okay. So I wish you a wonderful days ahead, and I let's until I see you at the next session. Thank you, Nirja, so much for your time, and thank you everyone who's listening in and who's going to watch the recorded. The recorded is going to be available on these digital platforms for you to rewatch, maybe take away something else. Thank you so much. Take care. Good night.
Good night.